Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 21 of Live with CDP Sports Talk. Again, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210 and tell them CDP, or AKA Chris Palme, sent you there as well. And you guys can also now pre-order the all-electric Silverado or the all-electric Cadillac Lyric as well, or even check out the 2023 Chevy Trailblazer, which I just purchased recently as well last week from Barry Cullen Chevrolet, thanks to salesperson Nathan Laud as well. Again, guys, I want to say good afternoon, everybody. And I want to thank everybody for watching and listening. And today's guest is Elizabeth Knezevic. She's a car sales consultant for Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership here in Guelph. So bear with us, guys. Hopefully Elizabeth will be on shortly. She's going to talk about her career. She started her business career out in the construction industry, and now she's in the car sales industry with Barry Cullen Chevrolet as well. So looking forward to speaking to Elizabeth. And as for the NFL, since we're waiting for Elizabeth to come on, the Eagles, Kansas City, Super Bowl 57 matchup. It's going to be quite the matchup with Andy Reid, the longtime coach of the Eagles, going against Nick Sirianni and the Eagles as well. All right, guys, here's my guest. She just popped on right now, Elizabeth Knezevic. I hope I pronounced that right. I've been practicing it, so I will keep practicing. But bear with me, guys. I'm going to bring on Elizabeth. 1 second. Good afternoon.
Hello, Chris. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good. I hope I didn't pronounce your name wrong. I'm trying to get it right.
It's a mouthful. You know, when people see that KN, they're not sure is the N like more pronounced than the K. Anyway, it's Knezevic. Yes, you pronounced it right. And I'm just happy to be here.
Well, how was your weekend and how was your day?
You know what? The day was busy, and I guess that's kind of how we like it here at the dealership. There are moments where I'm still learning. I'm 2 months into this job, so it's still a little bit of a training process for me. But then when I'm in front of clients, it just feels, it's such a, I love this gig. Truly, I get to learn about people. I get to talk about their lives. So yeah, it's been good. What about you? What's going on in your life?
I watched football yesterday. The Eagles are in the Super Bowl, so I'm quite happy about that. I've got a bottle of wine I'm going to celebrate the Super Bowl with, blueberry wine. I don't normally drink wine. Yeah, normally I don't drink wine, but the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, so
it's a big deal.
Yeah, because it doesn't happen that often. It's only the fourth time. It's only the fourth time in their franchise history, and they've been around 90 years.
That's actually a huge achievement. I mean, I don't watch football. Maybe after the show, Chris, you can walk me through some of the guidelines of like how the rules are, because it feels like a very complicated sport. But congratulations to the Eagles.
No problem. And I was going to say, I just started my new podcast show with my co-host on Saturday, and maybe I'll have you come on that in the future as well. It's a monthly local news, local business show, and I think your story would be great for our show as well. Her name's Andy. She's with Rogers TV and that, so I just figured I would still keep this podcast, obviously, and then have another one on the side gig as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to chat with you next time too.
So I'm still loving the Chevy Trailblazer. I'm still getting used to it, but I drove it to Fergus today, and it was like, this is nice.
You know, it's one of our best sellers, and you can see why. It's that small, compact SUV with a lot of punch. But I'd be curious to hear, Chris, what's like your favorite thing about the Trailblazer?
To answer your question, I would say normally the sunroof, but I can't open it until May, probably April, May. So I would say right now the heated seats, sitting up high sitting up higher than the cruise, and then the heated seats. Because some nights I'm standing on my feet for 5, 6, 7 hours filming, doing camera work, and my back stiffens up. So when I sit down in that seat, turn the heat on, it really makes a difference.
There's nothing like heated seats in the winter. I mean, I know I sound a little bit entitled, but I mean, it's just, you got to warm that tush up, especially in the minuses. So yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I've never had heated seats before. I'm still waiting for the chip to come in for the heated steering wheel, which I didn't know that it had, but I guess that's going to come in at some point.
Yeah, and then our service department will get that handled. Yeah, this has been a little bit of the ongoing lag that we saw since COVID. There are certain things that, the chip shortage created. Unfortunately, heated steering wheels is one of them. And that's not across the board at all. It's just certain vehicles. So when GM is making cars and trucks now, they're basically doing it to maximize speed. And like your Trailblazer, right? They didn't hold your Trailblazer, production to wait for that steering wheel heated part. So basically, they gave you the Trailblazer, and as soon as the chip comes in, then you'll be the first to have it.
That was a long process because I started that process with Nathan. Actually, it was probably a couple years ago. Actually, about 2 years ago in August, I was test driving the Trailblazers 3 times, and I nearly bought it. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wait. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic struck. And then when I talked to Nathan last February, he's like, okay, we signed the paperwork to do it on February 5th. He goes, hopefully we'll have it by July or August, and it just showed up in January. So it was pretty well a year wait, but I've heard stories that people have waited even longer for their vehicles than I have.
That is unfortunately the nature of the industry. We're seeing it get better, right? And we're really, anticipating and predicting that it is going to get better in terms of lead time. But I just remember the day you came to pick it up, Chris. It was like this massive blizzard, and we were so excited for your sunroof, but everything was snowed in. So it was kind of comedic, actually. I can't wait to see like your expression when you actually get to open that sunroof, maybe in the springtime. You're like, this is what it's for.
Actually, I've got a clip of the video you put on YouTube. Yeah. I've got a clip of it here right now, if you don't mind me showing it.
Yeah.
Okay. 1 second. You did a great job with this video too, by the way.
Oh my goodness. My editorial debut of cuttings. Sunshine, blue skies.
Yeah, I've gone from a 2012 Cruise to a 23 Chevy Trailblazer with all these gadgets and stuff like that, and even a heated seat too, guys.
What's your favorite thing on this one, Chris?
Everything. I like the fact it's comfortable, good on gas. Everything was easy to set up. It's like going from like a basic car to with all the gadgets and stuff like that. I like the fact that it's got an all-wheel drive. It's got traction on it, and it also has when you're at a traffic light or you're stuck in traffic, it will automatically shut your engine off to save gas feature. And it also has a signal when you're changing lanes and you forget the signal, it'll remind you as that as well. And it also has a blind spot.
That's awesome.
Blind spot mirror as well. So it's going to take me about a week, but I do love this Chevy Trailblazer. It's good on gas. It's comfortable. It's affordable, and it just has a little extra things that I'm not used to. And having the seat cover and the steering wheel heats up as well is another bonus feature in that as well. And it's just for my needs, this is perfect. And hopefully I'll get about 10 years or 11 years out of this Trailblazer. And I recommend going to Barry Cullen Chevrolet, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme, aka CDP, sent you. You did a great job on that video clip, by the way.
Thank you. It's a vibe, eh? Like I use this
Yes.
app to help clip it together. And I asked my colleague Nathan what he thought. He's the one who actually sold you the Trailblazer and who
Yes.
did all the heavy lifting. I just took, at the end, I came and took a fun video. But yeah, um, I'm glad it worked out.
And part of the reason I bought the vehicle is obviously the salesperson. I obviously befriended Nathan, but I also trusted him, and he didn't pressure me. And that's another thing too. Over the years, the role of a car sales consultant or a salesperson has changed a lot, because I know when I first started out years and decades ago, guys were a little more aggressive and pushing. And I just find the last couple sales guys I've had at Barry Cullen Chevrolet have been really good. They've been friendly, and they've been letting me take my time. And Nathan really, basically, I trusted him, and I liked the Trailblazer. I test drove it 3 times. I liked the look of it. I liked how it drove. I liked the features in it. I probably got more in it than I needed, but you know what? The sunroof I think is great, and it's not like somebody put it in, because I've had a car where somebody put in their own sunroof and I had nothing but issues with it. But I don't think I'll have this issue with it being a factory made sunroof.
Yeah, I completely agree. You said a lot of things there, Chris, and I'll just kind of bring it back to the sales process. Like, first of all, massive shout out to Nathan. He's one of our best, and he's actually been instrumental in my training. Right, I've been here for 2 months, and every time I need anything from programs to like asking him about horsepower, he just responds to dozens of questions a day. So he's amazing. But as far as building trust in a sales process, yeah, that's pivotal. We're kind of, like, we're in an industry where, you know, the stereotype is that pushy, like you mentioned, that aggressive salesperson trying to get you into a car without even asking whether the car is going to meet your needs or if this is something you want. I really love the team that I have here at Barry Cullen. Everyone's been very supportive, and I love the way in which we do business. So there's been a full amount of transparency and customer education. We really care that the customer is happy at the end of the day.
Obviously, yeah, customer service as well. And I also the dealership sponsors my podcast show as well, and it's a product I believe in. Like, if I'm going to have somebody sponsor my podcast show, I want to have a business or a product that I actually believe in.
Completely. Yeah. And the family's very sorry, the dealership is family run. So there's a very tight-knit group of us that really like do everything we can to, you know, to make the customer experience priority. I noticed that even in the service, even with parts, they're different teams, but anytime we need help, like they're there for us, and the client feels taken care of, which is, I think, ultimately all we're actually going after.
And Jim Zettel, the mechanic there, he's serviced my
It's
cruise for
amazing.
11,
Yeah.
11 years as well. One thing I wanted to tell you, and I did this right away on Friday, is I went and got the vehicle oil sprayed by Crown, and I'm going to be doing that every year. In my opinion, it should be done every year. So that's how I'm going to do it. And fingers crossed I can get as long as I did out of the cruise in my Cavalier with this vehicle as well.
Yeah, proper maintenance is essential. And these cars are built very well. So with just a little bit of maintenance over time, they can be made to last longer than we think, even at this point. But isn't that like everything in life, Chris? It's just about maintenance. I feel like with even with our own bodies, with our mind, with our mindset, it's just maintenance, right? Because ultimately you're responsible for yourself day in and day out. So yeah, I'm not going to go on a tangent about what I think about that, but yeah.
I named the vehicle Blizzard, by the way.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Pause for a second. If anybody who hasn't spoken to me or doesn't know this, I strongly believe that we should name our vehicles. And my sales team laughs at this because they think it's ridiculous, but there's actually quite a bit of reason behind it. Blizzard. What a great name, by the way, Chris. Brilliant name. I feel like once we name something, even if it's an inanimate object like a car, we actually take ownership of it. And there's just way more pride and caretaking of this. My car's name is Aria. And so I include my 4-year-old into the discussions about, you know, how we nicely treat our car, how Aria likes to be taken care of, you know, that we don't put our dirty shoes on the leather seats and things like that. And it's way of an easier conversation than just saying the car. So anyway, that's just a tangent about naming your vehicle because, yeah, it could change things.
Absolutely, and I've only had 4 cars my whole life, and they've all been GM, and, I've been lucky to get, so many years out of them, and I've gone from an '84 to a '98 to a '12 to a 2023, so and, it was well worth the wait, and so far, I'm very, happy with it, and, the one thing I there's still a couple things I need to talk to Nathan about, but I have figured out a lot on my own. I have a book. I should start reading the book, but I just kind of more rather ask Nathan or somebody in person and then see how it's done.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. I bother him every day, like I said. So yeah, if you don't ask, I can.
Oh, my friend Shelly's watching. She said Blizzard, perfect. She has a Chevy Cruze as well that was the same age as my car. So I'm hoping Shelly, when she does get a new vehicle in the future, will come to Barry Cullen as well. She's had a lot of years out of her Cruze as well, but not nearly as many kilometers as I did. I had almost 275 on my car,
What? Good
almost
for you.
275.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes, I do a lot of driving with my other job that I used to work at, and then I go to the States quite often. And when you have a vehicle, you need it. I need it for work purposes and also for traveling purposes. And I need something that's good on gas. That's the big thing with the Trailblazer. I asked him first thing, is it good on gas? And he said yes. And then is it comfortable to drive? And I test drove it 3 times, and it's basically similar to a Cruze, except it's a bigger version than in the Cruze, and the trunk is not as big, but there's more room in the back room area than the trunks. They sacrificed a little of the trunk for the back seats, but that was fine as well. And Nathan did me a favor too. He was able to get me liner mats for the front and the back as well because I just don't like salt getting onto the carpet
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
It's like he knew that you would be picking up in the middle of a blizzard. So, right? Those mats were there.
Definitely. I just got a few questions for you, Elizabeth. Can you just tell my audience a little bit about yourself and how did you end up in the construction industry and then now into the car sales industry?
Oh, this is like I'm gonna like Cole's notes version this for us. I am a first generation immigrant. We moved here from Serbia when I was 7 years old. So, growing up, it was important to my parents that I did very well in school. Sorry, I don't know if you hear any of that. We have a Corvette
Yes.
turned on in our
No
dealership
worries.
right now. The guys are excited. I think it's going home. So anyway, so being part of an immigrant family was, school was extremely important. So I kind of grew up as that like high achiever. I would cry every time I got like an A- kind of thing. I put a lot of stress on myself as a child. Got into business school, finished that at the University of Guelph Humber, and then when I met my partner at the time, all I really wanted to do was build a business. That was kind of the idea. Build a business, that was paramount. And he had just started his construction company out of his, second bedroom, and it was a $40,000 company at the time. And I thought, well, this is great. Why don't I apply all of these things I learned in business school to building this construction company, which is what we did. So we spent the next 8 years really building it into a fully sufficient, not just a general contracting firm, but it was a full design build and engineering firm as well. So we did a lot of like residential projects, we did a lot of commercial projects, and I ended up spearheading our entire residential division. So larger scales renovations, or if anybody needed like larger bathroom renovations, kitchens, things like that. And I guess that's really where I fell in love with just working with people and figuring out, what do people need and how can we create a product that's going to be helpful to them ultimately. There's nothing quite like that moment where you finish a renovation and you see the client fully walk in, and just the look on their face when they realize like how much better life is going to be now that their kitchen is more efficiently laid out, now that they have different kind of trims. So that I really took a lot of pride in that. And then when that partnership ended, I left the construction firm, but I had all this sales and marketing experience behind me. I thought it might be kind of cool to test out what the sales thing could be, really. And sales and cars, I just fell into it truly. I love cars, even though I don't know too much about them, but I love the feeling of driving a car. Like I got my license when I was 16 years old, that first day. So that was really like one of the starting points of, how can I now be part of something like this? So it's been about 2 months, and I'm really liking it. I'm the only female here. I have an incredible boss. I have an incredible team behind me. So it's kind of cool to go from construction to cars. It doesn't feel that different in a lot of ways, but yeah, it's fun.
This I had to ask you. How challenging was it being in a male dominated industry in construction? And do you find it's still male dominated industry in the car sales industry as well?
Yeah, these are fair questions, Chris. Construction was actually a really hard industry to get, I guess, used to. I would have situations where that felt very stereotypical, where I would be on a job site and I would be speaking to trades, giving instructions. And oftentimes the trades would even either like not hear me or pretend that they didn't hear me. I had a couple of instances where they would call my ex-husband at the office to double check the instructions. So, but that was the beginning. What I found is over time, the more that I kept showing up on work sites, the more that I kept, engaging in conversations with them, conversations that necessarily didn't have to do around construction, but rather like building rapport, like what's their life like, who are their families. If I found out they were from a different country, then learning a little bit more about that language and building trust. And that's when I started to see that there was a little bit more respect given both ways. They started to take me seriously, but it was an uphill climb. A young woman coming on a job site, as a site manager, that was not, it wasn't necessarily easy. And most of the industry is still dominated by men. Every time I saw a trade that was female, not many times, I think I saw three in my length of time of working there. I would ask them. I would be like, "Hey, what do you think? Like, you're a woman in construction. Like, what's your life like?" And they would all tell me the same thing. That there's a lot of men around. Most of the time, they are respectful, and we're doing our very best to make a living by forging our own path, not necessarily something that's been done before. So yeah, that was a big thing there. And then in terms of cars now, Chris, I mean, there's still not enough of us. We're recording this podcast just to give reference. Um, a day after Mayor Hazel McCallan died. So
That's
we just had her passing yesterday. And do you know how old she was, Chris?
101, 101.
101.
And
And
she was
yeah.
she was mayor of Mississauga, I think, for over 40 years. Like when I lived in Oakville in the late 70s, she was mayor of Mississauga. So she was mayor, I would guess, for at least 40 years.
For a very long time, and she built Mississauga from that farmland rural
Yes.
community into what we know as this thriving metropolis today. My mom, many years back, had the privilege of watching her give a talk in one of the conference centers in Mississauga, and they asked her, "Hazel, when are you retiring?" And she said, "I'm going to retire when 9 jobs out of 10 in politics are women." And it was a joke, and it was very feminist blown, but her point was that we definitely need to have a little bit more quality, and that when you put a woman into a leadership or management role, there tends to be a little bit, I'm going to just go out and stay on a limb, a little bit more empathy, a little bit more emotional connection. So yeah, so she was just like a massive forerunner in our movement.
Okay, and this leads to me another question I wanted to ask you. Did you have any mentor or mentors when you were first starting up in the industry?
Yeah, I've had a couple. Construction industry, my ex-partner helped me a lot. He's 10 years older, so he knew a lot about the industry and just kind of guided me through it. I also had a site super who was in the industry for over 40 years and who guided me through a lot of these a lot of the struggles of running a project from start to finish. So I was really privileged there. And then now I have an incredible mentor that I got really lucky to meet and then work under. And he's been in this industry since 1976. I mean, I'm gonna give him a massive shout out. I hope he doesn't mind, to the one and only Gary Cooper, who is just this incredible wealth of knowledge, and who loves to see the sales process be a place where the client is fully included, where it's an organic process, where it feels like everyone's winning and we're fully transparent. So I'm learning every day from him. So that's been a really big part of my own job satisfaction here at the dealership, because there's a lot, right? There's a lot that we need to learn, and we live in a time now where we really
Everything's
value.
quick.
Yes,
Everything's quick.
exactly.
Like the microwave era. Everything's got to be
Exactly,
instant.
Chris.
Instant.
We want it so fast. We want it now. We want the drive-through experience of buying a car, maybe, or maybe we don't, but that's what we think we want. And Gary has been instrumental in teaching me to slow it down, to make sure the client is fully educated on what they're getting into, so that we're both fully clear on what's happening. And a lot of times I've just been able to build better rapport with client by slowing it down, by asking more questions, because it's a huge investment, right? You're not buying a t-shirt.
No,
right. It's for a lot of people, it's the second largest investment they have ever made, right after their home. So yeah.
Definitely. My late father, before he passed away, he worked in a bank for many years, and then he was not happy there. And his last 5, 6 years before he passed away, I figured I'd share this with you. He got himself a job at Guelph Toyota, and his last few years before he unfortunately passed away in 1985, he was so happy selling cars. Cars was a passion of his, and he really should have been doing that all along. But his last few years, he got to do it with Guelph Toyota. I know they're the rival to GM, and he just had a passion for it. And I think that's another thing too. If you're going to go into this industry, or even what I'm trying to do, or any career, you need to have passion. I think when you don't have the passion, or you lose the passion for that job or role, I think it's time to move on.
I mean, first of all, I'm sorry for your loss. That must have been really hard. You know, he sounds like an amazing guy, your dad. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's one of this is the sales job is actually one of those jobs where really very, very clearly you can see whether it's something that's going to give you joy or not. It's not necessarily for the faint of heart, if that makes any sense. It's not a job where you can kind of sit back, relax, but the passion needs to be there to drive, because you're having multiple conversations with people every day. And sometimes people are having a bad day, and sometimes you're reaching out multiple times. So the passion has to be ultimately the driver behind all of our decisions in sales. And definitely I see that with what you're doing, Chris, right? Because you're essentially creating content by yourself every day. And it has to come from a place of like real joy. Otherwise it's like disingenuous.
Absolutely. And the other night I did audio for Rogers TV, and I never done it in my life. And the gentleman, Jeff, said, "This is what you do in a radio station." And I'm like, this is a great opportunity. I was nervous for most of the game, but I guess during the second and third period, I got better at it. And I want to learn as much as I can. And that's what I love about the media industry. There's always something new to learn, and things don't always go smoothly. And you could probably say that too in your profession as well. Things don't always go perfectly as well.
They do not. I've been here 2 months, and I can tell you stories of just like, it feels like a home run. Everything's easy, and then all of a sudden, we're meeting with inventory shortages, or that by the way, that ship that has one of our SUVs on it, well, it's still sitting in Mexico. So how do we deal with that now when a client needs a car? So it's just smooth and like. It's just a matter of figuring out how you're going to deal with those, what do we call them? Speed bumps, I guess.
Yes.
Hurdles. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, are you okay for a few more minutes? I just got a couple more questions.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, as long as you're good. If there's somebody out here watching this podcast right now or listening to it later on audio, and they're interested in becoming a car sales consultant, what advice would you give somebody who would like to try to break into the industry?
It's a very good question, Chris. The biggest piece of advice I would have for anybody trying to get into this industry is just realize that it's a long game. My mentor, I'm not taking credit for this. This is Gary Cooper saying this to me, and I can see how valid it is. But he said to me before I even started, he said, the first year of sales is the hardest. The first 2 years of sales is the hardest. What he meant by that is, you're going to come into a place where you have to build your own reputation, and knowing that every customer that you service could potentially come back and refer other friends and family to you. But that also means that you're doing your very best work day in and day out, and you have the patience, right? And the stamina to keep going with it. That would be my biggest advice, is like, it's not an overnight thing. it's not something where you come in and boom, you're making a lot of sales. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe that's possible. But I definitely wouldn't recommend somebody new coming into this industry thinking that it's going to be really quick and that, you're going to be busy all the time.
There is down times, and sometimes when somebody's looking at buying a car, they have to look at the financial, whether they can afford it or not, the financing, and also too for people, it's a huge decision. I'm one of these guys that likes the same thing, and it's hard to go to get something new. It's scary too as well. So there's a lot of factors in it as well. It's not just like you said, just okay, I want this new car and be done with it. There's a what's the word I'm looking for? A process.
There's a full process, right? And even as salespeople, we need to realize that it's not personal. It's never personal towards us. People have their own lives going on. We don't know why people say no, or why they need more time to make a decision. Like you just said, Chris, maybe it's finances, maybe it's figuring some other things in life, and just being there to help people when they are ready to be helped ultimately. But that's, yeah.
Now, I was going to ask Nathan this question, but I might ask you as well. How much of an impact was the pandemic on the car industry?
He'll go into it with a lot more technicality. I'll just
Okay.
say the overarching themes. What we've seen is from that chip shortage to certain inventory shortages, we're having lead times on vehicles. So one of the biggest disappointments that I'm running into now with clients is when they call and they want a certain SUV tomorrow. They want to come in and test drive tomorrow. And don't get me wrong, there are times when I have it on the lot, but most of the time I'm either waiting for it to come in or it's on its way being shipped. So my biggest recommendation, if you're thinking about getting into a vehicle in the next little while, is start doing some research sooner rather than later and figure out what the lead times are and what vehicles are coming into which dealership. Because right now we're still seeing, months out for certain vehicles. It's not the case on all of them, but definitely that was a huge impact of COVID. Another impact of COVID indirectly is our financing rates. So obviously this is not a straight result of the pandemic, but if you look at the global situation and everything that's been happening economically on a macroeconomical scale, it has impacted financing rates. So they are a little higher than what we're used to. If you are considering a new car, a lot of the manufacturers are subventing interest rates, meaning that the interest rates are lower than inflation rate right now, just because it's an incentive to sell cars. And so that's also something else to consider.
Absolutely, and I know in the past I was at the point where I had to buy a car because I left my other car too long, and you don't want to get into that as well. There has to be a time when you have to know when it's time for a new car, and I was ready for it, and the timing was good as well because the current cruise car needs a little bit more body work, and that's why I'm going to probably have one of the guys from Crown come on here one day to tell people. I've learned this the hard way: is if you get even a fairly new used car or a new car, get it sprayed once a year at least because it protects the body, the maintenance, and it also adds to the retail value of a vehicle because I probably would have got more for my cruise if the body underneath was in better condition, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's probably true, right? The maintenance is a huge part of it.
Okay, I just got a couple more questions for you. This one I wanted to ask you: how did you end up coming about your current role with the car sales consultant with Cullen Chevrolet?
Yeah, I mean it's a good question. So how far back do I go? So when I left the construction industry, I took about a year and a half, 2 years where I went online because everything was pandemic, right? Everything was online. And I started to teach women how to build businesses online, especially how to present themselves, how to market, how to sell. I feel like as a gender, we're a little bit, we have a visibility issue. And that's just a blanket statement. I'm not saying every woman is like that, but I think overall we do. So I really, my coaching in my company basically helped women build businesses. And I realized that the sales part of it was really fulfilling for me. Like, how do I get somebody who doesn't really know the product or service, and how do I get them through the steps of learning to trust and then getting more familiar with, and then finally making that decision. So from there, I realized I wanted to go into sales. And I thought, what is the best possible job in sales that I can do? and cars came up. Like I said earlier, I've always liked cars. I never put two and two together until that one day last fall. And then I basically just pulled up the closest dealerships with the best reputation in my area. And I mean, this is a bit of a joke, but it's true. Like, how does the saleswoman get the sales gig? Cold calling, which is exactly what I did. So I had about 5 dealerships that I cold called. I spoke to different managers, different business managers, and basically landed on Barry Cullen. And kudos to Gary Cooper, who took my call that night. And I said, "Hey, I'm Elizabeth. Like, are you guys hiring sales?" And his attitude towards my phone call and his attitude towards the whole interview process was stellar. Most of the other dealerships I spoke to, they were interested in hiring a woman, but they were also very hesitant about where we were at economically. They all cited, like, hey, by the way, we have a certain amount of people on our sales team right now. We're going into the winter, there's a recession, and we're just not sure. So that was the response I got from 4 other places. But here, my boss was like, no, you can learn and you can do well. And that made me feel confident too, because I mean, it's the first time I've taken on a sales role like this. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I fully answered your question in a convoluted way, but yeah.
Overall, the training they gave you was great, because I know nowadays a lot of companies, I don't mean to stereotype, but they're like, they look at you and it's like, okay, you got this and that. Okay, here you go. You start and you get no training at all. And to me, to keep employees, you need to give them a little bit of training. That way they can learn how to do the job well and how you want them to do it.
It's been incredible. I mean, like I gave a shout out to Nathan, but I really truly believe that, like, the fact that we share our offices are very close together. So, and he's a walking encyclopedia. He's been in this business more than 6 years. So anytime I've had any questions, he's been there, and that's been very helpful, because in the sales capacity, you are also learning as you're going. So as I'm with clients and they're asking me certain questions, I'm asking, sometimes I've had to ask him. I let people know, hey, I'm new. I mean, it's happening less and less, but that level of training to be able to answer questions live and then be able to help people out immediately, that's been really helpful. But yeah, Chris, you're right. The training is paramount.
And it sounds like they took you in when they hired you, because when you're a new employee, even it doesn't matter how much education or how many skills you got. When you start a new job with a new company, there's always those jitters the first week, because you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know what the other people are like, and how it's going to go. And it just makes the adjustment easier when they take you in and they take the time and show you and explain stuff to you.
Oh, absolutely. And that's been the case here. And I was really welcomed here, which made a big difference, right? I'm the only female on our staff, but everyone's been so uh, you know, warm and inviting and helpful. And it's nice because even though we're technically all salespeople for ourselves, like, there's a lot of teamwork that happens behind the scenes, and we'll work with each other. We'll help each other out. I'm very about that. Like, that's definitely been a big bonus about working here.
Two quick questions to ask you. One, you've already answered the first part of it, but what do you enjoy the most about your current profession in auto sales? What do you just love about the industry the most?
This job, okay, so it just depends on what your strength and what your kind of passion is. But this job puts me in front of strangers every day that then I can turn conversations around and really learn about people's lives, connect with people. I've had quite a few clients that walk away and we hug each other and we feel like we're friends, and we've bonded over a lot of things, because I really value authenticity, right? I really value being honest and open, and I feel like I really try to come across like that to my clients, and a lot of times clients come across that way to me. So the benefit is I get to hear some of the most incredible stories and learn about people's lives and just realize some of the things that they go through. It really makes you appreciate, everything that you have in life and everything that you've gone through. So that's my favorite part about this job, is really connecting to people. It's funny how, Chris, most of my conversations are about, getting to know each other, setting up rapport, building a trust-based relationship with each other. And oh, by the way, let's look at some of the specs on, this SUV. Well, let's look at this truck now. But that to me is I don't want to say secondary, but it's definitely a smaller part of, like, creating the trust, creating the fact that, hey, like, I'm in this with you. I want to make sure that you're getting in the right vehicle. It's not, like I said, it's not just about putting you in something and waving you off, right?
Absolutely. There was something else I was going to ask you. I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. I
It's
got
okay.
another. I got another comment here. My friend Shelly. She says, "You
Oh,
go,
thank you,
girl."
Shelly.
She
I
likes.
love your comments.
Yes, she worked at the Humane Society for many years. She's a good person. She's a good
Wow.
person. She worked there for many years. She loves her animals, and
Oh,
she's had their Chevy Cruze for 11 or 12 years. But I'm hoping maybe she got her Cruze right after I got my Cruze. So
yeah.
maybe she'll get a Trailblazer after me. But Shelly, if you do look to get a car from Barry Cullen, Elizabeth's right here. I plug for
Thank you,
Elizabeth here
Shelly.
to deal with. So
Yeah,
she's a
and
good
Shelly,
person.
I follow you, you guys on Instagram, the Humane Society, and I feel like it's so hard because I want to adopt every single dog that you have, every
Yes.
single dog out there. I'm like, yes,
Adopt, don't shop. That's my
yeah,
philosophy.
agreed.
Definitely. Do you have any pets at home?
I had a big guy. I had an Italian Mastiff, a Cane Corso until last year, and he had a very serious heart condition, and that. My God, it's just. I'm sorry. I love him very much, and we
I
haven't.
didn't mean to upset you. It's
No,
emotional.
it's okay. It's okay. It's just, he's always a big part of my heart. He was only 4.5 when he left us. And we really tried to fight, he and I. And then one day he just looked at me. He said, "Mom, I'm done." I could feel it. So yeah, I don't have a
Okay.
pet, but I will be adopting one. My son would love a dog. It's just a matter of like when I can make this work now. So
Yes.
yeah.
And having a dog or a cat or any kind of pet, it's like having another kid. It's a full-time job. It's a full-time job.
Yeah, it's a child.
Yes,
It's a child. You just love them so much. You take care of them. You have to, you have to feed
definitely.
them. Yeah.
Definitely. And then this is a fun question, then we'll wrap it up, Elizabeth. And I want to say thank you again so much for wanting coming on my podcast show. The first 4 months I started this show 3 years ago, I couldn't get anyone on. And then all of a sudden I got an actress on from LA. And then it's just so I
That's
faced
how it
my
is, Chris. It's a
yes,
passion, right? We talked about the
yes,
long term, right?
yes.
And you're doing such an
Yep.
amazing job with this show. Like I've heard some of your stuff. You're
Well,
doing
thank
the right thing. Yeah.
yeah, rejection is a big part of this business as well. You can't take it personally.
Never.
And I just use that rejection as more motivation because I like to prove people wrong.
Like, we are agreed there. Same thing
Definitely.
here. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, just fun question here. What's the best restaurant in Guelph in your opinion? And what kind of music do you like to listen to at work? And favorite vacation spot?
Well, I'm new to the area. I am ashamed to tell you that actually the best restaurant in Guelph, I don't know. I've
Okay.
yet to try any restaurants or bars in Guelph. However, if you like burritos, there's a place called Burrito Guys with a Z, somewhere in Guelph. I drove by it by accident one day and the burrito was spectacular. Burrito Guys with a Z. Would definitely recommend them. Other than that, I love the Rockwood Conservation Area. It's not a restaurant, but it's just one of the best places to go lose yourself in the forest in. Music, anything. I love music. I mean, I will always dance to any 80s. That is 100% guaranteed.
80s
So,
music's the best. 70s and 80s. 70s
right?
and 80s.
Just give
I
me some Billy Joel. Just
yeah.
like
I
Duran
was
Duran it up. Done.
I was supposed to go to his concert a couple years ago in Buffalo and take a family member, and it got canceled due to the pandemic. And then the following year, the concert went on, but we still had border restrictions, so I had to miss that concert, and I had to fight with Ticketmaster to get a refund. Unfortunately, I couldn't cross the border, so unfortunately, I missed it. And I know he's playing at Fallsview in Niagara Falls, but the ticket prices are like way, way higher than they were at the Bills Stadium because it's in a smaller venue. But Billy Joel is somebody I'd like to see live one day, I hope.
Yeah, I'm on. There's so many legends, right, in that genre of music. Like really, really beautiful music was made. So yeah, and then favorite vacation spot. I mean, for me, it'll always be Hawaii. I got a chance to live there for 6 months when I was much younger, and I fell in love with the island, the Big Island particularly. But yeah, but I feel like also, as corny as it is to say, like we live in Ontario. When you have a weekend free and just like driving around, seeing some of the spectacular places that are very close to any of our cities, I think that people come from all over the world to see some of the things we have here in Ontario. So yeah, there, I've just said it. I mean,
Hawaii's on my bucket list, and I've never been on an airplane yet, so I'm gonna have to do that
oh,
someday. So
You're gonna love it, Chris. It's an adventure.
I guess I should try it at least once.
100%. You're definitely going on an airplane. It's just a matter of time and where, a matter of destination.
Definitely. All right, and we're going to wrap this up with this last question. Where can my audience find you on social media, and where can they contact you at Barry Cullen Chevrolet if they're interested in looking at a pre-owned or a new GM product?
Yeah, please follow me on social media. Message me anytime. I am Cars with L, and that's just EL. And yeah, Barry Cullen Chevrolet Cadillac, 905 Woodlawn Road. I should have my full. Uh, Chris, what is our phone number?
It's 519-824-0210. I have it memorized.
Who works here? Is it Chris or me? I'm not sure, but yes.
I've
Yeah.
got the ad. I got the ad and everything I say right down, I guess.
But thank you. I had a great time chatting with you today. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you so much again, Elizabeth, for coming on. And give me about 15 minutes and I'll have this podcast downloaded to my audio platforms as well. Before we go, I just got one more comment from Shelly. Okay, it's just a comment from Shelly. But hopefully, Shelly, when she does get a new vehicle, maybe in the next year or two, she'll come see you at Barry Cullen Chevrolet. She's a good person and she keeps her cars for a long time like I do as well. But again, I want to say thank you so much for coming on live with CDP podcast. This is my 241st episode today.
What? Congratulations, Chris. That's so good.
Thank you. And I'll probably drop by and see Nathan this week as well to do an interview with him. And I probably still got to ask him another one or two questions about the Trailblazer. But overall, I'm happy with it. And I think it's a great vehicle and it suits my needs, whatever I need.
Amazing. I'm glad you're liking it. That's awesome.
Definitely. I hope you have a great night, and we'll definitely keep in touch with you on social media as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris, for everything. Good night.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed my podcast show today. Season 5, episode 21 with Elizabeth Knezevic. If I pronounce that right, I'm still going to work on name pronunciations as well. She's a car sales consultant with Barry Cullen Chevrolet at 905 Woodlawn Road West in Guelph, in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles as well, or give them a call at 519-824-0210 and go see either Nathan Laud or Elizabeth Knezevic as well if you're interested in looking at a new or pre-owned GM vehicle. Really good customer service there and good salespeople there as well. You can also check out their website, barrycullen.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk is live streamed on 5 platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And I want to say thank you to everybody for watching us on those 5 platforms as well. And before we wrap this up, guys, just also to let you guys know, for all your camping needs, please check out Highlands Pines Campground out of Bellwood, Ontario. Check their website out at highlandspines.com. And like I said, I was up there. It's in Bellwood, Ontario, which is about, 5-10 minutes from Fergus. Beautiful area, and it's a gorgeous campground. So if anybody out here on my podcast watching live or on audio, please check out Highland Pines Campground out of Bellwood, Ontario, and check out their website, highlandpines.com, and just mention that Chris Palme sent you there as well. Just a little plug for them as well. Some sad news from the NHL today. The NHL Alumni Association is deeply saddened to learn that Hall of Famer Bobby Hall has passed away at the age of 84. Bobby Hall began his NHL career with the Chicago Blackhawks back in 1957. Hall would go on to play 15 seasons with the team and 1 season with Winnipeg and another with Hartford, and awesome career. And he's also the father of Hall of Famer Brett Hall. So deepest sympathies and condolences to the Hall family on the passing of Bobby Hall today as well. Guys, the next live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, will be Thursday, February 2nd. Hard to believe, Thursday, February 2nd at 3:30 Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Eastern with my guest Simon Bennett. He's a morning sports anchor on City News 680 in Toronto, and he's the longtime public address announcer for the Toronto Marlies of the American Hockey League since 2008. So I hope you guys can tune in to season 5, episode 22 of Live with CDP Sports Talk this Thursday, February 2nd at 3:30. Again, with my guest Simon Bennett from 680 News or City News in Toronto, and the longtime PA announcer for the Marlies as well. Super Bowl 57, Go Birds, will take place on Sunday, February 12th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox from State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, between the AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes against the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. This will be the Chiefs' third Super Bowl appearance in 4 years, and this will be the Eagles' second appearance in 5 years. The Chiefs are looking to win their third ever Super Bowl championship, and the Eagles are looking for their second ever championship. Also, you got the first all-black quarterback matchup in the National Football League Super Bowl game, Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, the first time two black African-American quarterbacks have faced each other in the Super Bowl. Also, Andy Reid, the coach of the Chiefs, coached the Eagles for 14 years, so Andy Reid's going to be going against his old team that he coached to many successes for 14 years in the Eagles and Andy Reid. And you got the Kelsey brothers thing. You got offensive lineman Jason Kelsey for the Eagles going up against his brother Travis Kelsey, the tight end for the Chiefs. So it's a lot of stories with Mahomes and Hurts and Andy Reid's homecoming against the Eagles, and then also the Kelsey brothers, the first brothers in the National Football League history to go against each other in a Super Bowl, and Jason and Travis Kelsey. And when their careers are done, Travis will go in as a Hall of Famer as a tight end, and Jason as a center with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm looking forward to this Super Bowl 57. I think the Eagles have a better team than the Chiefs, and it's going to be a good game. I think Mahomes still can do it even with his sprained ankle, and Andy Reid's a Hall of Fame coach, and Travis Kelsey, what can you say about him? So much respect to the Kansas City Chiefs, and go Birds. And the San Francisco 49ers had a good year, but you're not going to beat the Eagles and Philadelphia's with a third and a fourth string quarterback. And they made too many mistakes with fumbles, sacks, and turnovers as well. So go Birds, fly Eagles, fly. The Eagles, this is their fourth trip to the Super Bowl, 1980, 2004, 2017, and now 2022. And I'm looking forward to it. Nick Sirianni in his second year has taken the Birds to a Super Bowl like Doug Peterson did 5 years ago. And Jalen Hurts has really developed a lot into a Super Bowl quarterback only in his second year as well. So looking forward to that matchup, Philly and Kansas City on Sunday, February 12th, 6:30 Eastern on Fox as well. Guys, you can also follow Elizabeth on Instagram at Cars with EL. That's where she's on Instagram, or on Twitter as well with that same handle as well. Also, you guys can check out my website, beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. My YouTube channel, previous podcasts are there, and all my social media sites are there as well. So if you want to stay up to date with CDP, check out beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme as well. And again, guys, Live with CDP Sports Talk is brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Again, check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles as well. You can also follow CDP on TikTok at Live with CDP on TikTok as well. I post a lot of live video and content there as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talk podcast. If you're into webinars or podcasting, StreamYard is your best platform to use as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk podcast. The audio version is always downloaded to iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Stitcher, Tuned In, and Podbean, and currently listen to 22 countries across the world. And I want to say thank you to everyone for watching live with CDP Sports Talk, and thank you to everyone listening to this platform as well. I'm very lucky to have my audience. It takes time to have my audience grow, both audio and on live feed as well. And I'm on 19 platforms now, too, by the way. And also, guys, any comments or questions about the podcast show, you guys can email me at cpame19, that's cpame19 at gmail.com as well. And you guys can also follow me on LinkedIn, Chris Pame. I post a lot of content on LinkedIn as well. And also, you guys can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And also, please consider subscribing and liking my YouTube channel as well. Type in Chris Pame or YouTube as well. And that's about it, guys. I'm going to wrap up season 5, episode 21 today. Again, I want to say thank you to my guest, Elizabeth Knezevic. She's a car sales consultant with Cullen Chevrolet. I really appreciate her coming on. And if anybody out there is looking for a new vehicle or a used vehicle, please check out barrycullen.com or go to Barry Cullen Chevrolet at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Either check out Nathan Laud or Elizabeth Knezevic, and they can take care of your vehicle needs as well. And again, next live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, Thursday, February 2nd at 3:30 p.m. with Simon Bennett, a morning sports anchor with 680 City News in Toronto, and also the longtime public address announcer for the American Hockey League's Toronto Marlies since 2008. So I'm looking forward to speaking to Simon Bennett. Again, thank you everybody for watching this podcast live and listening to it on my audio platforms. And we'll see you guys Thursday at 3:30 with Simon Bennett. And thank you again, Shelly McRae, for watching the podcast and for your comments as well. I hope everybody has a great rest of the afternoon, great evening, and we'll talk to you guys Thursday at 3:30 again with Simon Bennett here on Live with CDP Sports Talk.